Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the L1 Links show with friends. Friends Links show. We're doing, what are we doing? I forgot.
We could start over, but why?
Oh, no.
It's a surprise.
My brain just completely short-circuited.
It's business and I don't
business
know.
and security. It was security because the first day was social and that was weird.
Do you think anybody finds out what the topics are and it's just like, oh, I'm out?
Yes, probably. People really like the nonsense section. That's our most popular day. Yeah, that's always on Friday.
Yeah. Anyway, business, and we already talked about this one in government because this was a decision by the courts, but it was followed up. I guess there is no appellate path here, right? Mm. It's over, Johnny.
Apple updates its App Store guidelines to allow links to external payments. That is a terrible headline, 9 to 5 Mac. Apple, we discussed this in the other episode, but basically Apple had these very strict rules, like the external links could only be in unassuming places, and they could only be plain text links. Now anything goes, basically. So however you want to tell the user, it's like, hey, if you buy it at Apple, it's going to cost 30% more. If you buy it, on my website, it's 30% less. You can tell them however you want, and that's fine.
You know what I'm looking forward to? I'm looking forward to in 3 to 6 months when we get an article where it's like, this percentage of people are still paying 30% on Apple. Because it's
just like Netflix when we were like, well, who does this?
Because I think it's going to be higher than 20. Don't you? It's going to be astonishing how many people will do that.
I think with my favorite thing about this is that how Apple is doing their own TV shows, and they did so poorly on Apple's platform that Apple's releasing them to Netflix and everything else. You're going to be able to watch the Foundation series cheaper on Netflix than you can on Apple's own TV service.
I've heard a lot of Apple shows are actually pretty good. It's just nobody uses their streaming service.
I got a lot of cardio into the Foundation series from that just magically showed up on my hard drive, and it was surprisingly good. It was a pretty good series.
Yeah, but you didn't buy it. That's the point.
I will totally buy it as soon as I can get it on DVD. Somebody post me a link in the chat to the DVD.
I bought Succession on DVD like an old person. I'm surprised that they actually offered it.
She means Blu-ray.
Whatever.
DVD, Blu-ray, I'll take any.
Yeah, physical media. I bought a physical box set.
I was cleaning my basement a few days ago because I was looking for something, and a surprising amount of the floor space in my basement is occupied by boxes of DVDs, and it's like, I should get rid of these, and it's like, oh, and I have to prove that I have a license for these maybe someday in the future. So it's just boxes and boxes and boxes.
Well, just get a shelf for them. I was like, we keep ours displayed in
They take up less space in the boxes.
Put them on a spool.
Well, I don't want to get rid of the packaging and stuff, though. It's part of it.
Oh, that's just consumerism. That's just collecting Pokemon at that point.
I've got my plastic Star Trek ones, and the Battlestar Galactica is in this fancy cube thing. It's interesting.
Listen, in 3-4 years, you just be like, hey, robot, go recreate that DVD case for me. It's going to do it.
It's just going to 3D print it.
It's going to be 3D printing it in its chest while it makes you dinner. So.
No, I think
it's going to have a weird plasticky taste, but it's fine.
I think our future is not going to be that. I think our future is going to be like, I accidentally ventured into a room that I haven't been in years, and the AI running on my phone starts deducting money from my bank account because it's like, I don't see your licenses for those things on the blockchain. And then I just, it's like, oh yeah, that's fine.
Well, maybe it'll take a little longer than 2 or 3 years because it seems that everybody is saying like, oh, those data centers that we ordered, we don't need those anymore. And now Microsoft is going further.
Microsoft moderates AI spending as profit increases 18%, according to the New York Times. And it talks about how everybody's scaling back data center usage even as usage of the AI tools is going up. Everybody is adopting AI. Profits are increasing. More users are increasing. What all of these articles do not state that we can state, and this might be fun to have a little conversation about it, is that even the terrible models from 3 or 4 years ago are useful to normies.
Yeah, a lot of these articles now are having the whole narrative of like, well, AI, it hasn't really lived up. It doesn't really do what it's supposed to do. Bro, it's doing it for me. It works.
But are you a niche user?
I don't know.
I had the craziest experience earlier. I was trying to explain to somebody how the special effects from Star Trek were interesting, And I wanted, you know how you have the large language model and it does thinking, and then you can expand the thinking and see what it's thinking about. I want on our local server, I wanted to hack in my profile so that when it's doing the thinking portion of it, that it's playing the Star Trek computer accessing sound. And so I was just like, let's just see what happens. So I gave the AI the MP3s of the special effects from Star Trek, and I was like, hey, I have these computer beeping sound effects, but I would like to be able to make these an arbitrary length based on how busy the computer is. But I want to play the actual special effects while the computer is busy. And it was like, oh yeah, here you go. And then here's a Python program to do that. Like, it understood what I wanted with my terrible disjointed description, and it produced a Python that took the input sound effects and it synthesized more sound effects that sounded like the sound effects in the file. It was not perfect. It was almost perfect. It was like 85% of the way there. And that's so absurd and insane. And yet, like, how, this is where we are, chat. This is amazing.
That's a great anecdote on like why AI is amazing other than the narrative. But in terms of like functionality, that's the equivalent of making the large equipment beep all the time.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
It's. I thought you were going to say.
Nobody like sees that as a use case, and they're like, "Yeah, that's something I would pay like $200
That's
a month
awful.
for." Yeah.
I was 12 all over again and putting playing cards in my bicycle spokes. I was so happy.
Our first home PC, I changed all the startup sounds to like stuff from Invader Zim. That's kind of reminds me of what I did then.
Well, that's a fun, nostalgia and everything. And let's immediately pour water on that by introducing something horrible.
Microsoft rolls out Windows Recall to the public nearly a year after announcing it.
Killdozer.
Yeah, but can I make it play the computer busy sound from Star Trek while it's thinking? That's all I care about.
That's copyright violation.
Yeah, and it'll know
It's going to deduct 12 cents from my banking account
every time it
does.
plays, not just 12 cents once.
Now, for now, you must have a Copilot PC for this to be active, but I imagine that's not going to be forever. So, yeah, probably once a week. You know what? Set yourself an Outlook task right now. Once a week, go into the Windows setting and make sure that they haven't, first of all, installed it, and second of all, re-enabled it every week.
Engagement challenge. Let us know how that worked out, because I have a feeling I already know the answer.
And boy, there were some bitter responses to this. People were not excited about this announcement.
Grand Theft Auto 6 delayed until May of 2026. Pour one out for the Grand Theft Auto.
That's probably going to affect GDP, right?
Yeah.
It affected my friend's Discord server where everyone was immediately very upset.
Was this the story where, this guy, he was like, this has ruined my life. I don't know what I'm going to do.
This article would have been way better if it figured out how much money GTA 5 is still making, because it's a non-trivial amount of money.
They'll slowly ruin that game so that way people will move over to GTA 6.
But is GTA 6 going to do the no online in the beginning as well? Because remember GTA 5, you didn't have online for a long time.
Yeah.
Didn't you have to play through the tutorial before you could do online as well? I remember being annoyed by that.
That was very annoying. Yeah. Also, a lot of people had already scheduled time off of work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that is bad news, but that is not the only gaming bad news that we had this week.
Electronic Arts has laid off hundreds and canceled the Titanfall game. That's too bad, because the play testing stuff, supposedly, for Titanfall actually looked like it was going to be a lot of fun. We need a good modern mech warrior. Everybody is too young to really understand the glory that was OG mech warrior.
Titanfall only lets you mech for a little bit, though, right?
Yeah.
And you have to work your way up to it, and then it was sort of a time thing.
That was probably an idiot manager in the company that was like, "Oh, we can't just make a mech game. No one will like that. We need to do all this other stuff." It's just like, no, we need crafting inside of our first-person shooter. It's like, no, that worked once, okay, once.
I can't be competitive in the online shooters anymore, so I can't get hyped about them.
I like competitive shooters, but I don't I don't want to craft a bunch of stuff. It's like, oh, manage your inventory. And it's like, no, I just want to shoot people.
Well, I think with Titanfall, it was just a matter of getting enough kills or doing something in the game. It wasn't like a traditional crafter. It was just you have to be a person for a while.
But that's what. Okay. But what's the game we played a lot of? Helldivers. Helldivers had all those different types of currency and upgrades, and I was like, it was fun for a little bit, and then I was like, I just want to shoot bugs. I don't want to have to think about.
You got to engage. You got to grind. You get those hours in. But one place that you will not be hearing about any of that from.
Polgyon has sold to Valnet and hit with mass layoffs. So it's one of the biggest gaming sites around is now just a click farm, according to Kotaku.
Who's probably also a click farm.
It was going to be AI generated eventually anyway. You know what? Better to die now than to become that. And
that's a great lead in for our next story.
Yeah, this is it. It's over. I love that Amazon Hall launched the day before, or like 2 days before that was announced, and it was like, oh,
you knew.
Poor timing. But yeah, Temu is the big one, and you're not going to be getting those orders anymore.
Temu to stop selling goods from China directly to U.S. customers because it costs so much more to actually bring the thing into the country than the thing actually costs.
But don't say never. Don't say they're not going to do it anymore, because we have no idea when this might just go away.
By the time you're watching this, it could be different.
Is it raining? And here's an interesting one, because you could see this as like, well, okay, maybe people have just come to their senses and they're not downloading these stupid apps anymore. But that is not the case, because Apple didn't suffer.
Google Play sees 47% decline in apps since the start of last year. And TechCrunch theorizes that this was mostly garbage, terrible applications, which we've often pointed out as like, hey, the Play Store is basically useless because fraud and terrible applications run rampant. Meanwhile, Apple had almost no growth. It's a very small growth.
0.4%
of applications. But so, yeah.
It's probably going to be a lot worse for Apple, too, now that people can just get it online. Like, they can bypass the store.
Is Google taking advantage of that and being like, hey, we can be a walled garden now, too? Because
I don't know why I'm bringing it up now, but the Epic Store has said that they're not going to take any revenue at all from developers until you clear $1 million. And then after that, they'll take 12%.
Well, over at Google, they are probably celebrating the Apple win, right? Probably some champagne bottles were opened in the boardroom. But they do have a problem with some of their employees, and this harkens back to, if you recall, every time Google is like, maybe we will use robots to kill, all their employees are like, oh, really?
I don't want to do that. Yeah.
Welcome to the Gemini era. So Google DeepMind UK is going to reportedly unionize. And this is because of Google executives saying, oh, we can just take this wonderful thing that you've built and use it for whatever. It's like, I didn't sign up for that.
Yeah, I think they made some, maybe not promises, but sort of suggested in the past, like, no, of course we're not going to do that, because you remember all the headlines 3-4 years ago, I guess 5 at this point. It was like, nah, AI will never kill. It's killing.
Is there an aspect of that argument that says that the people that would seek to use this tool in this way is like giving a chimp a machine gun? So maybe we shouldn't do that.
I just don't understand how you're operating on a high enough level that you're working on DeepMind. You must be a fairly intelligent person. And your head is in the cloud so much that you think Google is going to be anything other than what they are? That doesn't make any sense to me.
The money's good.
Google's not made up entirely of like-minded people. Ergo.
And Bitcoin back made a big comeback with, I think that's mostly just dollar devaluation, unfortunately. But it still doesn't make sense in the current energy market.
Bitcoin mining now just totes unprofitable.
What kind of headline is that?
Yeah.
Costing over $137,000 to mine just one Bitcoin in the U.S. and almost $200K per coin in Germany.
Hope Corrigan.
Oh, here
Come
comes
on.
the rain.
You can do better, Hope Corrigan.
Well, that's the writer. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the editor. The editor's usually
that's
the
right.
one who sets
Sometimes
the
they
title.
can change that was probably AI generated, wasn't it?
So what you're saying is the new target price for Bitcoin should be $137K. All right, that's fine.
But that raises the question of like, is there demand? Is there real fundamental demand for Bitcoin? Because the price is not that. Although, and they also point out that the price currently is higher than commercial production because they can cut costs. So they estimated they could probably generate one for $87,000, which, there's some money to be made there. And here's one that, definitely not a shocker.
Tech workers are just like the rest of us, miserable at work. Gone are the days when everything was like super perky and you could do all of your work in about 3 hours and then just go enjoy all the free food and chat and
ping pong tables.
Put in an order for your laundry. All that's over. It's gone. Done.
And no one's pointing out the obvious, AI connection here and the fact that they're cutting heads at every single big tech company.
We don't need people, but we will need the people that remain to do the jobs of like 5 people.
For now. And it's back. We actually did last week, right before it was announced that it came back. And we said it was still down when it maybe wasn't.
Hey,
even
we'll
at
take
that
the
time.
engagement.
Yeah.
4chan's back online, according to Boing Boing. And then there's a lot of words that is alluding to 4chan being online that are really just don't matter.
We need it. I think it's kind of a safety valve.
Pressure relief valve.
Yeah.
A lot of terrible stuff on 4chan,
Yeah,
but also
you-
a lot of funny stuff.
You got to get the crap posting out. I get it.
And once you filter that heavily, you get the best memes in the world.
I don't want to be the person who's filtering it, but I do love it when it rises to the top.
It's like taking raw sewage and using that as the basis for the water for champagne. It's a lot of work.
It's almost like the raw sewage occasionally produces precious metals and diamonds and things, but it's like I don't want to wade through that to get to the good stuff.
But some brave souls do. We salute you.
And this is certainly the trend seems to be that the American consumer is, first of all, broke, and second of all, not interested in paying 6 figures for an automobile.
Bezos-backed Slate Auto debuts its analog EV pickup truck that is decidedly anti-Tesla. So this is apparently a $28,000 vehicle that's eligible for an $8,000 rebate, and it doesn't even have paint. They weatherized the metal because that was cheaper.
It's ugly, but I was immediately intrigued when it said analog.
I don't think that's ugly,
It's 130-mile range, so it doesn't have a big battery on
but
it.
you can get a 250 upgrade, which is going to be more than $20,000. I love, first of all, single cab master race. That's the best truck. Once you start adding extra stuff on the truck, why even have a truck at that point?
I wouldn't be disinterested in this. This would be a great for the kinds of stuff that I have to do for hauling things. Like this would be great.
It is really small.
Is it like it reminds me a little bit of like the little Japanese trucks you see.
Yeah, except those are what, $9,000?
Yeah.
So
If
you're
I-
probably getting the same product.
If I can get an XL 4U server in the back of it or 2, it's fine. Like it would be great.
I'd haul my plants around just fine.
For a while, for a short time. And this is a big news because they are claiming actually more performance. I don't know if we've got any proof of that yet. And we should be suspicious, but what if that's true?
The Reuters headline is China's Huawei develops new AI chips seeking to match Nvidia, according to Wall Street Journal report. This report isn't any good. Jensen said that they are not as far behind as everybody thinks they are. These apparently use more power, like 2 to 3 times, almost 3 times as much, but can be faster for some kinds of operations.
So your argument is the guy whose business this would ruin says it's not that good?
Yeah.
No. He says that they're not that far behind, meaning that he thought it was pretty good.
Well, some people are claiming, and those people are probably, communist propagandists, that it's actually a little bit better.
Well, not in terms of power efficiency, but if you just throw it at the wall for
They're,
compute.
they're still generating plenty of inertia on their grid.
Yeah.
And Jensen also out there, he is always trying to dispute when people say things that would threaten the AI narrative. And this one really made him upset.
The CNBC headline is Nvidia says Anthropic is telling tall tales in defense of U.S. AI chip restrictions on China. Because he says Anthropic will have the leg up if these are restricted, whereas it's just going to make China develop their own stuff more quickly.
Now, one of the accusations was that women were using fake baby bellies and that is a thing in smuggling. But a lot of this equipment is pretty large and heavy.
Also,
Maybe you're just really pregnant.
also Ziploc bags in with the crabs. Like fishing boats. It's like, at the bottom of the crab tank is just a bunch of GPUs, and it's like, okay.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. It's a very valuable thing, right? They need it, but I'm not sure that's how much of a problem. What percentage of the stuff going into that country is that? That's got to be low, right? And the last iPhone was kind of a flop, right? people weren't really impressed with it. It wasn't anything new, and a lot of
It's
people seem to be like,
expensive.
yeah, we're too broke. But now you got the tariffs to worry about. So, like, what's that going to mean? But they're looking ahead a couple of years, which is a big round number.
Apple's design for the 20th anniversary iPhone is apparently so extraordinarily complex that it must be made in China, the report says, which is where all the world's most advanced machines for all this kind of stuff are.
I saw the Reddit thread about this before I read it here, and there was a weird amount of like comments simping for China. I mean,
Yeah, it's the pinks. You
it
know?
was, it was surprising. I was
Probably
like,
digital pinks at this point. They're doing their job. Now, some people are, nobody knows exactly what this phone, because obviously they're tight-lipped about it. But some people are speculating this will be the foldable iPhone, which is why it's so complicated. Which seems like that'll be a flop, right? Who
yeah,
cares?
nobody has really. I don't know anybody who's really super happy with the flip, or not the flip, but the foldable phone.
And we learned that, was it Logitech last week was one of the first hardware movers to just be like, yep, across the board, it's all going up. But then Microsoft went way harder.
Microsoft is raising prices on Xbox consoles with games set to hit $80 each this year. So $100 and $80 respectively in the U.S.
Which Nintendo already sort of broke the seal
Yeah.
on the $100 game. So, but yeah, everything going up in a pretty big way here.
Broke the seal. Except instead of like that freshness sound, it's just like a belch.
When I say broke the seal, in my mind, it means your first pee when you're drinking hard. Because after you do that, it's like your body is like just every 20 minutes, let's go. Let's get this out of here.
I've not had that
You
experience.
never heard that?
No.
It's like, dude, bro, don't break the seal because then it's all over. I always did, though. And yeah, here is we can feel good about this, right? Catharsis story. Let's all enjoy other people's suffering because they are awful.
Comcast president bemoans broadband customer losses. We are not winning. Yes.
They're Comcastic though.
Customers are starting to realize that Comcast is full of lies and the service is terrible.
But that's not what his spin was. His spin was, our pricing is too complex. Nah, bro. Your company is
It's a
garbage.
big copium.
Everybody hates you. You are synonymous with bad service.
How did we get here? I think you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's possible you don't if you're like that high up and you never pay your own internet bills, but
Well, I'm sure his service is great.
yeah. That's what I mean. Like he has no context of what the product actually is.
And, you know, if you're following along with all these AI related stories and everything, you realize that many of the skills that we have are going to be completely obsolete soon. And what does that mean? Well, you're going to serve the robots, and Google is going to help you.
Google is funding electrician training as AI power crunch intensifies. Yeah, Google is training electricians, just a vast army of electricians. But also, they are training people to harass the government to get less regulation because we need more production capacity and building more plants and bringing them online. There's a lot of regulation and problems and other stuff with that. And so Google is going with a holistic approach. It's not just electricians, it's the whole enchilada. They want to build infrastructure because they need it in order to grow.
We want to build infrastructure, but we really hate those pesky safety regulations.
And we have some new stars in the sky, but wait, those aren't stars.
Amazon launches its first Kuiper internet satellites in a bid to take on Elon Musk's Starlink. Finally.
They got a lot more to put up, though. That was just the first little bit. They're going to do it, or at least they're going to try. And self-driving cars, you know, I mean, we've got the Teslas, which clearly don't work. And we got a couple other companies that tried and failed pretty spectacularly. But now, out of nowhere, a contender that we thought was just going to do, like, you know, cars as a service are like, no, you can buy them.
Waymo partners with Toyota, opening doors to sell autonomous vehicles to consumers. So Toyota and Waymo, partners forever.
They claim that they have software that they feel confident they can put in almost any car, which means that from now on, all the Toyota fleets should have self-driving versions if you want it.
Nah.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I may crash this car, I may drive it like an idiot, but it's me driving it.
Yeah. I don't have to just sit there and wonder when the horrible thing is going to happen. And yeah, there's a crime problem in a lot of the U.S. because, I don't know, poverty is overwhelming people. But the solution, obviously, according to the leaders, is more artificial intelligence.
New York City bets on AI surveillance to clean up subways and predict criminal behavior.
The second clause is particularly concerning. Predict criminal behavior. What if you're just weird?
You know what else would be effective? If they actually had people in the subway to like deal with the crazy people and the people that were on drugs disrupting things.
Or they would enforce laws about that in the first place. But no, that's not what we're going to get. Now, they are assuring us that this is not facial recognition. No, this is just observing your behavior and predicting things based on that. I don't know if I believe that about the facial recognition thing.
Yeah, I don't believe that. Also, again, like, what if you're just weird?
It's not allowed on the subway. You have to stay above ground if you're a weirdo.
It's tough being out here in these streets and being one of those people who like rocks. You know, I have nervous tics. I'm not trying to be weird. I just am.
That's predicting all kind of crime.
Yeah. It's like that person's going to snap any second now.
And facial recognition is not the only thing we have to watch out for, because this, for a long time, was only happening in much like less developed economies. And it was like, oh, let's just take advantage of these people. But now, I suppose enough political clout has been obtained.
Sam Altman's eye-scanning ID project launches in the U.S. with 6 locations. Basically, let us scan your eyeballs and we'll give you some cryptocurrency.
Not just that. We're going to give you crypto. You got to get one of these orbs has to scan you. We're not just going to give you cryptocurrency, but hey, you know how you're not allowed to log into social media without being confirmed to your identity? Guess what we offer?
Ugh.
Yeah.
This is like a massive attack video.
One-stop shop. Get scanned, get a little cash in your pocket, and you get to go back on Facebook. Who doesn't want it?
The weirdo who's nervously shaking in the subway doesn't use eye tracking.
Usually the huge cybersecurity incidents happen here in the good old US of A, but this time it's over in Korea.
SK Telecom cyberattack. Free SIM replacements for 25 million customers.
Wow.
Except that they're not going to have enough SIMs to replace those SIMs for quite a while.
Only 6 in the month of May, so sign up early. They had a terrible, terrible hack. Pretty fundamental.
SIM swapping is basically going to be trivial for the criminal element at this point.
And who is the criminal element? Is it just these, like random gangs out there? Well, more and more evidence is pointing that no, that's not who's hacking us.
Government hackers are leading the use of attributed 0 days, according to Google. This is a fun TechCrunch article. It's just, it turns out the government's generating a lot of vulnerabilities that they then weaponize. It's so strange.
Why would they do that? They're the good guys. And if you're in the market for a new car, maybe just wait on that truck, right? Because something tells me that a $28,000 truck, they're not going to be able to cram in a whole lot of this.
Car subscription features raise your risk of government surveillance, police records show. Anybody that watches this program, we've been saying that since day one. We might not have said it in those exact words, but basically it's like, the police can just, get a copy of that. For a while, the car was self-submitting it to LexisNexis. Remember that? We covered that.
Now, it won't save you not to have subscriptions. You will still be spied upon. But someone FOIA'd a presentation that some cops were doing about this kind of thing. And they were like, yeah, if a subscription is active, you get way more data. It's way better. And you have more vectors to get in. And also more real-time monitoring. You can ping, if a subscription service is active, you can ping the car because the payment system requires that, so they can get your location actively. Don't subscribe.
I hate the future.
And Apple is probably illustrating some of those government attacks, because they won't say who, because that would be embarrassing. But they will tell some people that it's happening.
Apple notifies new victims of spyware attack across the world. So Apple, in doing audits for this, found a lot of people that have iPhones that appear to have been altered by state security services. And so they have said, hey, your phone has been compromised. Here's a nonprofit that can work with you to figure it out. We're just letting you know that your phone is altered in some way.
One guy was an Italian who wrote for some sort of website that was critical of the government, I guess. And everybody was like, hey, didn't Pegasus have a contract with it? And the Italian government was like, oh, not for months now. That couldn't have been us. And
Oh, you clicked out of it.
What have I done, Milwaukee Journal? Terrible.
They're
web
using that
design.
U.S.
And it's not even
news.
visual. Look.
I think
You can't even tell.
I think we should cover the other story too, though.
Oh, I didn't know.
It,
All Milwaukee Pizza Huts have been shut down temporarily.
We'll take a quick look at that. But first, yeah. So let's say that you are a police department and you don't have a lot of extra budget, right? What are you going to trade to all these data brokers to get that sweet, sweet data?
Milwaukee police consider it the trade 2.5 million mugshots for free facial recognition access. You give us mugshots, we get okay. Yeah, fine, whatever. This is just deeply troubling. Because remember when Detroit did this and they got all those innocent people? The facial recognition system was terrible.
Who would pay for this? Like if you're, because you can get. Have they never heard of arrests.org?
Well, presumably not everything is on there. It's like a small town. Well, I guess Milwaukee's not a small town, but I think this was a smaller precinct or something. So, yeah, they've never had facial recognition. They want it, but they're too poor, so gotta barter. So yeah, let's take a quick look at this tragedy.
All Milwaukee Pizza Huts have been shut down temporarily.
Click it. I gotta know.
It's clickbait, so like, oh, I guess we have to go into it.
Why?
Health department. That's not a good sign.
Closures. Learning the restaurant's new owners had not received food dealer licenses.
What an unsanctimonious end to Pizza Hut.
The hut died a long time ago. It's just been rotting since then.
It went downhill when you couldn't go in to play arcade games and get your salad at the salad bar.
Definitely. It was a whole experience.
It was.
Like that oregano smell, I'll still have such fond memories of that.
Gosh. Yeah, our Pizza Hut's not been that way for a long time.
And secret data harvesting, that is just the new norm. Even in situations where everybody involved who supports this kind of thing is like, we must never let data harvest it. We cannot have a database. That's the end game. Well, they did it anyway.
Gun Owners Group calls for inquiry into firearms industry's secret sharing of customer data. Although this article also talks about one industry group that apparently was just a front. It was like,
Yeah, it's the Giffords.
yeah.
They did a pro gun. The Giffords did a pro gun and nobody suspected anything. Oh, these people that hate us, they've started something that says they like us. Yeah, they were just spying. And finally, Apple has a terrible hack, but actually it turns out that they have to be on your internal network. So kind of a popcorn fart at the end here.
Millions of AirPlay devices can be hacked over Wi-Fi. CarPlay too. So I got to start ripping out AirPlay devices from corporate conference rooms. That's going to be fun.
It's funny. The press release, they're like, well, this is unlikely to affect you and we can patch everything, but we don't know how many people are going to actually patch these devices, which is going to be a tiny, tiny amount.
The local Starbucks has AirPlay devices on their Wi-Fi, which I'm pretty sure is like the TV and a couple other things.
What should we play?
Level 1 News, obviously.
Yeah.
We should
It's not the news. It's
we
the
should
Links
live
with Friends.
stream and feed our text-to-speech donations into the...
That's always a dark reality of what gets fed out.
Yeah, we're thinking about how much money we'd make.
We would make a lot.
That takes IRL streaming to a new level. We're not just carrying around the Bluetooth speaker. We're
harassing people
taking
in a
over.
public place at a coffee shop.
Well, I mean, that's what you do anyway, right?
I guess that's true. All right, that was the last story for this session. On Friday, we'll be back with Robot and Nonsense.
So much robot and
Nonsense.
nonsense.
Bye.